Hello and welcome. Gathering tonight for a class of Astroyoga. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to support this channel. So that's the inhale of the opening and the toes and the hands, and the exhale, bringing the toes down and the hands down. After warming up just the toes and the fingers this way, moving into wrists and ankles. Forward and backward movement, moving the feet and the hands. And the hands can be in any comfortable position. If you're sitting, lifting them in front is some demand. It's going to take some strength. So they might be resting and moving in their minimal effort there. You might like the effort. You might like to challenge the body and give the arms a more difficult position to create that effort. From the forward and back movements, switching to rotations, to drawing circles, and if you can, keeping it wrists and ankles. And if you need to separate that out, if it's too big of a brain puzzle to do together, separating them out to just the ankles and then just the wrists, drawing circles with these joints several times clockwise and switching that direction to the opposite way, round and round one way and the other way. And then drawing other shapes, infinity symbols or figure eights, seeing which is more available for the ankles, for the wrists, more nuanced, more demanding. And those have a direction as well, and so they can be reversed and they can go backward. What other movements you might find for the wrists and for the ankles. Taking a moment there, a breath to find what's satisfying there, and then a moment of rest and stillness to notice what that's done and how that feels in the body. As the awareness moves on to the next set of joints, we'll divide up. The knees and the elbows could be a little cumbersome and clumsy to work all together. So if you're on a lifted surface, the knee straightens out and bends again, and that might just bend partway to a folded shape, or it might bend even deeper in if that's available to close it as deeply in. If that chair option is there and on the floor, lifting that leg and exploring an open and closed leg. What does it feel like to move just the knee joint and to focus the awareness on the knee? In the medical astrology, that's Capricorn that rules the knees. We are in the season of Capricorn here. Capricorn is known as an earth sign, a sign that a lot of folks associate with cleaning and organizing, getting things situated, a great time to start planning a new month, a new year, a new season. So opening and closing the knees a few times from wherever your seated position is. And then at a right angle, finding the right angle for the knee to explore a horizontal line. So this is a little bit more in the hip. It's a twist, a rotation. From the chair, that might look like swinging the foot, but like a golf club there. So noticing how available it is to find that horizontal line. And we're establishing 4 points. There's that top point when the leg is open, the bottom point when the leg is closed, and then we've got the outside and the inside points. So if you're up for the challenge, the next game is to connect those dots. You might not be as big of a shape. You might not be able to make as big of a shape as all the extreme dots, but finding that connection, drawing that circle. You know the leg opens, you know it reaches inward, it closes, it reaches outward in one direction, then reverse that and go the other way, round and round. On one side, on the other side. And like you did with the wrists and the elbows, if this is satisfying, you might stop there, but you might also advance it by making a figure 8 shape, that infinity shape. Feeling into the sensations, letting the body rest as needed. as you invite these movements into the knees. Finishing up with the knees for the next breath or two, and we'll stay with this connection of the legs to the arms, and we'll do something similar with the elbows. So once you've completed the legs, let those rest and bring that awareness back up to the upper body. You've moved your fingers, you've moved your wrist. And with the elbows, the arms can be open and stretched out, and they can be folded with the fingertips on the shoulders. And there's lots of different orientations and places that the arms can reach. So wherever you are, you might have your favorite or most accessible place. If you're lying on your back, it might be most comfortable to reach in front, but you might also reach out to the sides. You might reach up above and closing the elbows. We're tracking this movement. What does it feel like to move the arms today with this awareness? In these different positions. And stopping at a right angle at some point. It might be here in the front, it might be open out into an elbow rotation. So sometimes it helps to point the finger so that you can draw circles, and it's the elbow joint that's moving. We also know that the arm can open all the way and close all the way. So you might find those extreme points as you explore the rotations. And you might need to do one at a time. It might just be too much information for the brain to move both of them together. So if it's a little wacky, try separating it out one at a time. In one direction, in the opposite direction. And you might explore different orientations, especially if you feel any clicks or plicks in one direction. You might try drawing that circle on the ceiling or on the wall opposite, or even down below, to get the elbow its comfort. We've got two sides, two directions, and then the simple shapes and the complicated shapes. So if your elbow's really like, oh, I need a little more of this, you might try an infinity, a figure 8. And again, in two directions, reversing that as needed. Knees and elbows, checking in with your body as you complete these movements, feeling into what you've done. And our next set will be the set that connects the limbs to the trunk, the hips, and the shoulders. For a sitting practice, mobilizing the hips might be beginning with lifting and lowering the whole thigh bone, right? Bringing that femur to the abdomen or towards the abdomen is going to be engaging through that hip socket. So that's one way to connect with those joints, to feel into them. They've got the up and down, and they've got the side to side, opening out to one side and the other, finding the flexibility there. From a floor position, whether that's seated on the floor, and a similar practice can be enacted by folding the hip up and down. Also be done in even further stance, right? A further distance if the knee has an open body to arrive to. The up and the down, and then the side to side, again from a lying position, opening the knee out and in, feeling that hip movement, accessing the flexibility and the strength to open and then to lift back out. Regardless of how the upper body is orientated, and you might be curious to try the different base positions, this is absolutely welcome to try different ways of moving these joints one by one. We're isolating the joints to have a sense of how they feel today. Letting them bend forward and back and out, and then we move into a circle. So lying down, it's a core strengthening practice. If you use a straight leg, that's going to be the demanding choice. You might bend that leg for an easier, more gentle lever for that core strength. Lying down, sitting up, same thing. It's going to be engaging those central muscles, the ones that are deep in the abdomen, like the psoas muscle, drawing circles. And if you're practicing from a chair, the game, it might be a little circle. You imagine that knee is a laser pointer, and wherever you got to draw a circle. And then as we've been doing with these circles, they have a forward direction and a backward direction, counterclockwise and clockwise. And there might be even more complex shapes to play with. Figure eights, infinities. In general, in these practices, one leg at a time, for many of us is plenty and engages the core and is demanding of the strength. Someone out there is feeling extra ambitious and wants the full workout. Try moving both of the legs together and at the same time, but also be very gentle and easy on yourself. At every step of this practice, at every step of these instructions, make the decisions of what will feel kind to yourself, what will feel helpful. And as you let the legs figure out these final details with the hips, bring them back to a resting position. We've worked the toes and the ankles, the knees and the hips, fingers, wrists and elbows. The shoulders are next from this list. Lying down or sitting up, let the fingers come to the shoulders and the elbows come together in the front. If you're lying on the back, then the opening will be limited by the floor. But if you're sitting up or sitting on the edge of a chair and you're able to make a back bend out of this, that would be a great way to give the shoulders even more support and resources and flexibility. Forward and back movement there. In the shoulders. And the next one, as you might know, is a circle. It could be both elbows together, both shoulders together, or you might divide it out. So it's one arm at a time, depending on how your body's feeling today, what you know about your needs there. Drawing a circle, and these circles go clockwise and they switch for counterclockwise. In these movements, we're doing several different things. One of them is diagnostic. One of them is noticing what is even here. How am I able to move? What is my range of movement today? What are the sensations? Where do I feel stuck? On one side, be sure to go both directions and switch sides if you're doing one side at a time. So there's that diagnostic aspect of this practice. And then there's an effect. There's actually a benefit. So there's a therapeutic aspect as you're moving and warming up the body. The joints are creating more synovial fluid. The blood that comes circulating in is bringing fresh resources, fresh oxygen and building blocks and nourishment. So getting these movements nice and slow to ensure the full delivery of these resources and the accessibility and the availability. As you complete those, you might also explore some of the nuanced shapes, those figure eights, the infinities, as needed on one side and the other, and in one direction and in the other. There's directions in. And again, wherever you are, whether you're sitting or lying on your back, the next piece could be bringing the arm over across the upper chest and using the opposite arm to scoop it, to support it so that you're stretching the upper arm there, the back, the triceps, into the deltoid there, that little cap, shoulder blade cap muscle, shoulder cap. One side, the other side, reaching. If it feels good, repeating it several times to the right, to the left. And as the shoulders get the satisfaction they need, notice what else might feel good. Some people like the smaller movements with the arms down, shrugging or rolling the shoulders forward, back. letting them lift and lower. And allowing the body to come into a comfortable position. We've got the neck, and then we'll keep moving with a few other full body movements before we wrap things back up into a breath work and a stillness. But let's focus on the neck. So wherever you are, take a moment to scan through the body that you've exercised and addressed so far, the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips, the fingers, the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, feeling how that all feels. And for the neck, beginning with a slow motion, yes. Yes to longer daylight hours. Yes to feeling better in the body. Yes to good news and good things and successes. Slow motion, yes, to the things you are welcoming, the things you are inviting. And that might be one to return to and to continue with. And when you're ready, we'll also side bend with the neck. So from the central position, letting the ear pop over to the side, and then like drawing a little rainbow with your nose, drawing a horseshoe with the nose, up and over, ear towards the shoulder on one side and the other. Up and over. Inside of that up and over, there might be some other little movements. As the head is to the side, there might be a yes inside of that side. Seeing what feels good, what's available. The nose were a little etch-a-sketch. If you're of that generation that remembers the etch-a-sketches, little up and down movements. What can you reach? Where can you let the head go? Side to side. And you're feeling, I'm giving suggestions here, but your guide is what's happening. What's the body saying? Oh, yes, more. And what's the body saying? Enough. You arrive back in the center for a slow motion no. This is the sitting twist. Turning to look behind and letting the eyes go deeply in that direction in the corner of your twist. And the same thing, the head might get there, and there might be some other smaller movements inside of that twist that are satisfying, that feel welcome and good. Working with the body and its limits today, honoring whatever there. Taking another minute or two with these simple, so to speak, movements of the neck. We've got the forward and back, the yes, the side to side of the mystery, the twist, the slow motion no, and then putting them together and letting the nose be a paintbrush that draws a circle. In one direction, in the opposite direction. Going slowly as slowly can be, letting your body listen to these individual directions. There's a different set of muscle fibers along the whole 360 degrees. So the slower the head can move, the better these muscles can react and take part. One direction, the opposite direction. And then any other explorations and organic movements, infinity, figure 8 movements. And as that's satisfying, as that feels like it's reaching maybe some of the tired parts of you, some of those computer parts of you, letting everything settle, feeling through the details there. And I'll invite you in just a moment for some more stretches. If you have the capacity and the wish to come to standing, that would be the invitation to do the next few standing up, but they can be done also seated in a chair, and I'll give some of those options ahead. And the choice might be to remain in stillness. We've done the major joints of the body, and that might be just what you need and what satisfies you for today, and that might be where you stay. But if you'd like a little more whole body movement, if you're standing, stand with the feet parallel, organize the hips over the knees and the shoulders over the hips so that when you bring your hands together in the front and reach up, you have the option, the choice, if you wish, to come up onto the toes. In this practice, the challenge is to keep the shoulders down in a way that there's an upward movement from the spine and the lower body while the shoulders stay down. And that's something that can be plenty practiced on the chair. It's equally tempting to be closer to the ceiling with the hands, but actually letting the shoulders be down and finding that lift, that reach between the hips and the ribs, between the thighs and the armpits. In that upward movement, the hands can come all the way down, or some folks like to rest them on their heads, finding the length and the release. At least 3 or 4 of those, maybe 5 or 6 if they feel good. And as you get stronger in the balance and you are standing, challenging yourself to hold on the tippy toes. Continuing with a wider position for the side bend. Arms can be low, can be simple and soft to begin with. And they might get involved, they might take part in these movements. For a chair practice, I think wider feet will also give a little more steadiness, give a little more security so that when the body tips to one side and the other and that spine gets to curve over, wider feet are there for the security and the support. And the same principle, if the arms are into it, if it feels good to reach with the arms, those are an option to add in, but part of that is keeping the shoulders down, even as the hands go up. It's not everything reaching, it's hands going up and the shoulders keeping their down low. The side bends are followed by a twist. So as you feel that left and right side addressed coming into the center, standing or sitting, the invitation is to expand the body as big and as wide as possible, to then twist the whole spine, not just the neck, but the whole spine, and then letting the arms find their wrapped, their consolidated position in contrast to the openness. So if you start with your great big expansion, those arms might wrap around the body. You might come down to the sides, you're moving your whole spine. And that might be dynamic for you. Some folks like to go fast, and I wonder if they're going to take off like helicopters, and that's just great. And some days are just slow days. Some days are moving in there and hanging out for a few breaths to get into the pleasure, into the benefit of some of these shapes. We'll do one more thing on this physical plane before we switch to an awareness of breath and a little inner focus. We'll finish the physical part of the movement with a backward and a forward bend. From standing, the feet might be a little closer together, but they might still be hip width or shoulder width apart. That wider stance does give you some steadiness. You might choose to put the hands on the low back to do a back bend. That might feel secure and steady for you, and some people don't like that. Some people like that open position, Titanic move. And if the arms lift up, that's going to be more weight. That's going to be more work for the upper body. So that's another option, knowing your limitations, knowing your comforts. Same thing with the chair practice, having some space behind you if that's available, so that the face looks up, the chest opens out into the backward bend position, to be followed by a forward bend. And alternating between these two at your speed of slow, if slow is where you're going, or a little faster if you want the dynamic, if you want a little bit of cardio effort. In the standing work, that back bend might turn into just a little forward bend. It might be just leaning over, and it might be leaning all the way over. You might reach the floor, the toes. In our day-to-day lives, we're often in forward bends, so the back bend is a necessary piece, if you will. It's a good maintenance piece. If you are choosing one of the two positions, I recommend you choose that back bend to open the front. And as you do, if you do choose to go into the forward bend, just recognizing how often you are folding and bringing yourself to this closing. When you're sitting in a chair, at a desk, at a table, in a car. So forward bends, so letting the body counter them through the back. Take the next minute or two to feel through your body to see what else might need your attention. We've addressed the major joints of the body. We've addressed the spine and its major movements. You might have some personal stretches that are your favorite. You might have some physical therapy things that are not your favorite, but this is a great time to do any of those body things as the body is warmed up, as your awareness is with your joints and your muscles. So taking a minute or two for any personal movements, any personal stretches that will be helpful for your well-being tonight and tomorrow. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for practicing. With this new year, I will be here on Mondays and Wednesdays with the classes open to the public here on Zoom, and then later posted on YouTube, where they can be found, at least in excerpts, parts of them here and there. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please check out my website, olgachwa.com, to join us for a class in person by Zoom, live connection, but each of us in our safe places wherever we are in the world. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and leave a comment about your experience. And while you're here, please subscribe to my channel and opt in for notifications to catch the next class I upload. And then head over to olgachwa.com to join in a live event or to work one-on-one with me. I'm here to help.